Step 4. Connect to an API. Real-world applications do not live in isolation. They need APIs to talk to. In this step, we'll set up our Angular application to talk to an API. To do this, the first step we'll take is to import the HTTP client module into our app.module file and add it to the imports array of our ng module decorator. Doing this allows us to inject the HTTP client directly into our component. You'll notice looking at this component that I've cleared out the to-dos array and that I've cleared out the logic on the add-to-do method. Now that we have access to the HTTP client, we'll be replacing these with calls to our hypothetical API. We'll start by importing the HTTP client and injecting it to our component via the constructor. Next, we'll add a fetch method to our component. The purpose for this method will be to make a HTTP request to our API and store the results inside of our to-dos array. To do this, we'll start by calling the get method of our HTTP client, and we'll pass in the path to our API endpoint. Since we imagined this API call will return an array of to-dos, we'll add that to the generic of the get method. Next, we'll call subscribe to trigger making the actual HTTP request. And finally, we'll take the response and set it to our to-dos array. Since we'll want to make a request as soon as we start this component, we'll go ahead and add this .fetch to the constructor. The next piece of the puzzle is implementing logic for our add-to-do method. To do this, we'll want to send a post request to our API at a different endpoint to signal that our user has requested adding another to-do. Once our server responds to this post request to signal that our add-to-do was successful, we'll want to refetch all of our to-dos all over again. To accomplish this, we'll start by calling the post method on our HTTP client, and we'll pass in the URL for the endpoint as well as the body of the request. Since we'll want to trigger this request as soon as the user clicks the button, we'll go ahead and subscribe to send the request. And once the server responds to signal that the add was successful, we'll simply call this .fetch to go and refetch our to-dos.